Benvenuti, cari amici, studentes et amantes linguae latinae. Quo modo voletis? How are you? Quid agatis? Si voletis, voleo. Facete si placet, ne oblibus Carmini nomen meum esse Petrum praetorium. Hic incipit lectio sexta cursus nostri de lingua latina apud Joannem McClintock. Welcome then to the audiovisual component of the sixth lesson of the McClintock Latin course. Nunc incipiamus caput sextum. Here we begin our study of the masculine nouns of the second declension. In our first lesson, we saw that Latin nouns are organized according to the manner of their inflection, of their declension, into 5 large groups or families of nouns, themselves called declensions. We have seen too that most nouns of the first declension are of feminine gender, and that the genitive singular of all nouns of the first declension ends in ae, pronounced I, as in filea, filii. In fact, we recall that this genitive singular ending, which we must learn together with the nominative singular of the noun as an item of vocabulary, is that distinguishing feature by reason of which we know with absolute certainty that a noun belongs to the first declension. In this sixth lesson, we begin the study of the second declension of the Latin noun. The genitive singular of all nouns of the second declension ends in the Latin e, which is to say, a long I, pronounced e. This genitive singular ending is that feature by means of which we know that a noun belongs to the second declension. The great majority of nouns in this second declension are either of masculine or neuter gender. Both genders have genitive singular ending in e. The nominative singular of the masculine nouns of this declension usually ends in us, pronounced us. We shall soon meet some masculines of the second whose nominative singular ends in er or r. The nominative singular of the neuter nouns of this declension ends, as we shall see, in um. It was mentioned in the first lesson of our course that a noun's vocative case, both singular and plural, repeats the nominative forms of that noun. The principal exception to that rule occurs here in this declension. Masculine nouns of the second declension, whose nominative singulars end in us, and most of them do, have an e pronounced an English e, which is the Latin e. It's a short e. These have e in their vocative singular. Then too, the masculine second declension first names of males, which end in ius, the names I mean, not the males, and a few others, have a vocative singular in I, and neither in e or ius. And so, you can draw the following chart. We remember the general rule of the vocative. The vocative repeats the nominative. We'll say they're equal. The nominative masculine nouns of the second, whose nominative end in us, form an exception to this rule. The vocative singular is e. It's a short e. And so, by way of example, the word servus in the nominative case becomes serve in the vocative case. The plurals will remain the same. The nominative plural here is the same as the vocative plural here. This, we can say, is an exception to the general rule that the vocative repeats the nominative. There exists, not surprisingly, an exception to the exception, and it is the following. For masculine nouns of the second declension, whose nominatives end in ius, we find a vocative singular in I. So, Cornelius becomes Corneli. Julius becomes Juli. This usually occurs with proper nouns of the second, and they, of course, name males, Cornelius and Julius, but also with some others. A famous one is Filius. Filius in the nominative gives us fili, hair, in the vocative. The possessive adjective as well, meus, in the nominative becomes me in the vocative. So, O my son is O mi fili. O my son, O mi fili. Interestingly enough, the vocative singular of the word for God, Deus, remains Deus. Now you have listed, as you can see, the full paradigm of the Latin masculine nouns of the second declension, and I shall write them on the board. Nominative singular, us. Genitive singular, pronounced e, it is the English I. Us, e. Dative singular, o, it happens to be long. Om is the accusative singular, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. The ablative repeats the dative, and we have a vocative in short e, pronounced e. The plurals are as follows: e, orum, is, os, is, and the vocative repeats the nominative e again. So we can put them together, we can offer a full paradigm of the masculine noun of the second in the following way. We'll take the word dominus, which means Lord. Lord or master, dominus, the genitive singular, domini. We remember that to derive the root, we look at the genitive singular, we subtract its ending, and what remains is the root. In this case, D-O-M-I-N, to which we will add the endings dominus, domini, domino in the dative, dominum in the accusative, domino again in the ablative, and then the vocative singular, domine. In the plural, domini, dominorum, dominis, dominos, dominis, and the vocative plural, repeating the nominative, domini. That brings us to the vocabulary and the pronunciation of this chapter. An Aeduan, the Aeduans were a Gallic tribe allied with the Romans. In Latin, Aeduus, Aedui, a captive or a prisoner, captivus, captivi, master or lord, dominus, domini, a German, Germanus, Germani, garden, hortus, horti, a lieutenant, an ambassador or a legate, legatus, legati, a slave or a servant, servus, servi, a village, vicus, vici. The English preposition to, with an idea of motion, meaning towards, is the Latin ad, the preposition used with the accusative. The English preposition in, without an idea of motion, meaning then placed in or at which, is the Latin in, preposition used with ablative. To call together, convocare, to ride, equitare, to recall, to call back, revocare, to flog or to beat, verberare, to call, vocare. Et hic habet finem amici caput sextum praelectionis nostrae.